Nestled in the heart of Northumberland, Alnwick Castle stands as a colossal giant, its stone ramparts and spiralling turrets reaching skyward, commanding the English landscape with a majesty that whispers of its ancient origins. And this castle, the largest of its kind in Britain not inhabited by the royal family itself, has been the prestigious stronghold of the Percy family, embodying a legacy steeped in nobility and the tumultuous history of British aristocracy. Yet, despite its initial splendour, there came a darker era when Alnwick's mighty halls fell silent. Indeed, the Percy family, once the very lifeblood of the castle, withdrew, leaving it essentially abandoned and a hollow echo of its former self. The grand dining halls, which had hosted kings and queens, lay deserted. The lush, expansive gardens grew wild and untamed. Alnwick Castle, a jewel of medieval architecture, seemed destined to crumble away, forgotten by time. But fate had a grander vision. With a resilience forged from centuries of monumental cultural importance, Alnwick Castle rose once more. Through vigorous restoration efforts, fueled by legendary architects and horticulturalists spanning hundreds of years, the castle was reborn. In today's episode, we'll not only give you a guided tour of this illustrious home, but also dive a bit deeper and explain how one of England's most beautiful castles avoided the wrecking ball, as we describe why the UK's largest private castle was abandoned, the wild history of Alnwick Castle. Alnwick Castle, nestled like a medieval dream in the verdant folds of Northumberland, England, carries the weight of history with a flair that's almost cheeky. Indeed, it's the largest castle in the UK not inhabited by the royal family itself, and has been the Percy family's pad for over 7 centuries, and the 12th Duke of Northumberland, Ralph Percy, has the keys to the kingdom now, having bagged the title and the castle back in 1995. Now the Percys took the real estate plunge in 1309, when Lord Henry Percy snapped up the castle and the barony of Alnwick. And since then, it's been a generational hand-me-down, albeit one with stone walls and a few drafts. Over the years, the castle has played host to a parade of Percys who were warriors, strategists, and diplomats, ensuring that family dinners were probably never dull. But Alnwick Castle isn't just about dusty old history books. It's a star of the screen, too. Thus, if the stone walls could talk, they'd name-drop quite a bit. This medieval marvel has moonlighted as Hogwarts in the first 2 Harry Potter flicks, where it taught young wizards the finer points of broomstick management and Quidditch, and when, not doubling as a school for magic, Alnwick has rubbed shoulders with the aristocracy of Downton Abbey as the grand Brancaster Castle in the show's Christmas specials. It's even done a stint in the robot-riddled world of Transformers: The Last Knight. Other credits include playing host to Cate Blanchett's Queen Elizabeth I in Elizabeth and serving as a backdrop in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. But the castle's cinematic repertoire stretches even further back, with turns in The Scarlet Pimpernel and Roman Polanski's Macbeth. And beyond its film credits, Alnwick Castle is a fortress to be reckoned with. The structure boasts a double bailey layout. That's castle speak for 2 rings of defence walls. At its core, the Shell Keep is a circle of 10 towers, quite the architectural twist compared to the usual square keeps of its peers. The castle's aesthetic is further completed by an ensemble of towers and turrets. The octagon and bow towers make a striking duo by the entrance, practically winking at visitors. And the castle's practical side includes 10 other towers like the Postern Tower, Constable's Tower, and the Clock Tower, each adding a chapter to Alnwick's long story. Some are D-shaped, a medieval hack for better defence, while others are more rectangular, offering cushier digs for their inhabitants. The gatehouse, defended by 2 semi-octagonal towers, throws in a barbican for good measure, because why have one line of defence when you can have 2? Now, upon entering Alnwick Castle, visitors find themselves whisked into a realm where opulence meshes with centuries of history. The staterooms, given a facelift in the 19th century, are a symbol of the Percy family's penchant for splendor and sophisticated taste. Certainly, the lower and upper guard chambers don't just greet guests. They dazzle with a collection of arms and accoutrements, relics from the late 18th century that have seen their share of stories. Yet, the pièce de résistance of the castle's interiors is undoubtedly the library. Nestled within the vastness of a large tower added during the 19th century renovations, it is a bibliophile's paradise with nearly 15,000 tomes. And the drawing room, dripping in Italianate grandeur, flaunts a ceiling that's a riot of carved, painted and gilded artistry, silk wall hangings, and a mirror that's more overmantel than mere reflection. Then the Great Hall, reborn as the state dining room, remains the throbbing heart of castle life, a medieval space continually pulsing with the beat of the present-day Percy family. Not to be outshone, the China Gallery parades a formidable array of Meissen, Chelsea and Paris ceramics, an opulent nod to the European porcelain palaces of yesteryears. But the allure of Alnwick doesn't stop at the castle doors. The Alnwick Garden, a visionary creation by the Duchess of Northumberland in 2001, combines horticultural finesse with contemporary design in a charity setting. The layout is a tapestry of unique horticultural sections that bewitch and bedazzle visitors. Take the Grand Cascade, for instance, a theatrical water display that plays out its dramatic sequences every half hour. Sponsored by Sage Wealth Management, this aquatic ballet takes place on a landscaped hillside with serpentine paths providing various vantage points to witness the waters dance. A darker allure is found in the Poison Garden, encased in mystery and danger, where about 100 toxic, intoxicating and narcotic plants thrive behind bars, literally. This garden, with its ivy-draped tunnels and flame-shaped beds, offers guided tours that delve into the lethal, the historical, and the downright scandalous stories of plants used in infamous poisonings. Not all is deadly in the gardens, however. The Serpent Garden weds physics with fun, offering an interactive water playground that delights families, while the Rose Garden is a fragrant feast of 3,000 English roses, including the celebrated Alnwick Rose, unveiled at the 2001 Chelsea Flower Show. Adding to the artistic flair, a bronze sculpture by Barbara Hepworth, Ascending Form, graces the garden, on loan from the Arts Council. Thus, these days, Alnwick Castle is more than just a historical artifact. It's a vibrant cultural hub. With an array of tours, events and exhibitions, the castle and its gardens offer an immersive experience into the lives of the Percy family and beyond. And yet, there was a time in which this majestic abode laid abandoned and deserted, ravaged by centuries of war on Albion. In order to find out how it got that way and how it made its magnificent resurgence, we'll have to go back in time to the days of William the Conqueror. The saga of Alnwick Castle, a beacon of medieval might in England, stretches back nearly a millennium to 1096. That's when Yves de Vesey, a Norman baron of no small ambition, recognised a good thing near the Scottish border. He started with a humble motte and bailey, basically the starter castle model, to assert Norman clout and ward off any Scottish party crashers. The de Vesey family wasn't content with basic, however. By the 12th century, they began swapping wood for stone, upgrading their home to better reflect their burgeoning status and fortify against the ceaseless neighbourhood squabbles of medieval Northumberland. Therefore, this locale wasn't just prime real estate, it was a critical bulwark in England's defensive line, earning its stripes in skirmishes galore. By the time the 12th and 13th centuries rolled around, Alnwick wasn't just a castle, it was a key player in the Anglo-Scottish soap opera. It stood firm against the likes of William the Lion, King of Scotland, who found Alnwick's defences a tough nut to crack in 1172. The castle's resilience in repelling William's forces solidified its rep as a fortress not to be messed with. Drama escalated in 1215 when King John, the trust-no-one type, ordered Alnwick's destruction, suspecting Eustace de Vesey of backstabbing. The castle's stones, however, remained unturned, showcasing the intrigue that swirled around this northern citadel. The de Vescie era wrapped up in 1297, the family tree having run out of male heirs, leading to a game of feudal hot potato until Henry Percy grabbed it in 1309. Enter the Percy dynasty, and Alnwick's narrative took on new layers. The 13th century had the castle beefing up its walls and towers, gearing up to deflect Scottish raids and throw some punches of its own. However, Alnwick wasn't all about warfare. It also blossomed as a cultural and political hub. The Percy lords didn't just fight, they ruled, feasted and played host to royalty, turning the castle into a northern nexus of medieval magnificence. But the Percy touch in the 14th century also transformed Alnwick beyond a mere military outpost. Under their watch, the castle sprouted additional towers and garrets, enhancing its fortifications while also boosting its residential appeal. And stone figures began to haunt the battlements, part decor, part psychological warfare, to befuddle any attackers. But this period wasn't just about architectural upgrades. In 1327, King Robert the Bruce of Scotland tested Alnwick's mettle with a siege, but the Percy fortified defences stood their ground. By century's end, Alnwick had morphed from a basic Norman construct into a robust emblem of feudal endurance. As the 15th century dawned, Alnwick Castle teemed with life, balancing military duties with the domestic bustle. It was a hive of activity for the Percy nobility, from knights and soldiers bracing for battle to servants and craftsmen maintaining the daily grind. Thus, with a clear division of roles, the castle operated like a well-oiled medieval machine. Whether it was managing vast estates, entertaining high-profile guests, or maintaining readiness for combat, Alnwick Castle was both a stage and a fortress, a place where history was not only made, but lived. However, the coming centuries would take the castle from strength to weakness, as abandonment and desertion for the illustrious building waited in the shadows. The year 1572 brought dark clouds over Alnwick Castle with the execution of Thomas Percy, the 7th Earl of Northumberland, and his staunch Catholic faith led him to the ill-fated rising of the North against Queen Elizabeth I. After the rebellion's flop, he escaped to Scotland, only to be captured and held captive at Lochleven Castle. 3 years and £2,000 later, he was sold to the English government and beheaded in York for his troubles. On that grim day in August 1572, as Thomas Percy faced the axe on pavement in York, he declined a life-saving renunciation of his faith, opting instead for martyrdom, and his execution not only heralded a loss for the Percys, but also signalled the forfeiture of various titles and lands, though, through a quirk of legal fate, not all was lost. Next, this period saw the younger brother, Henry Percy, stepping into the title as the 8th Earl of Northumberland, navigating the turbulent waters left by Thomas's political and religious fervour. Alnwick Castle, amidst these upheavals, faced its own set of challenges, its stature and influence waning in the shadow of rebellion and retribution. As the calendar pages turned to the 17th century, Alnwick Castle slipped further from its former glory, succumbing to neglect as the Percy family favoured their southern residences. The once vibrant castle began to crumble, its battlements no longer bustling with the energy of yesteryears, and the shift in the family's attentions left the castle a mere shadow of its past. The English Civil War, however, thrust Alnwick back into strategic prominence. You see, Oliver Cromwell, spotting its value on the chessboard of his military campaigns, seized the castle for his uses. Unfortunately, the garrison life and war demands did no favours to the structure's integrity, hastening its decline into disrepair. By the time the 17th century drew to a close, Alnwick Castle was not much more than a picturesque ruin. Trees rooted in its walls as nature reclaimed its stones. A telling piece from this era, a painting by Peter Hartover, captures the desolate state of its chapel, underscoring the depth of its fall from grace. The 18th century, however, would mark a renaissance for Alnwick Castle, spearheaded by the visionary architect Robert Adam. Tasked with its restoration from 1769 to 1783, visionary architect Robert Adam infused Alnwick Castle with the neoclassical elegance of the Adam Gothic revival style. And his efforts were not confined to mere beautification, but extended to fortifying the castle's social stature through lavish redesigns of the principal rooms and even the external structures like Downton Abbey and the Lion Bridge. Preceding Adam, architects James Payne and Daniel Garrett laid the groundwork for Alnwick's revival. Payne, from 1754 to 1768, focused on making the ruins habitable again, blending functionality with elegance. Garrett, on the other hand, introduced Rococo plasterwork and Gothic revival elements that would define much of the castle's early restoration efforts. Not to be overlooked, the landscape architect Lancelot Capability Brown reshaped the castle's surroundings into the picturesque parkland seen today. His work from around 1765 not only enhanced the castle's aesthetic, but also its geographical narrative, with carefully designed weirs and raised causeways that framed the castle dramatically against the Northumberland countryside. Thus, through the combined genius of architects and landscapers, Alnwick Castle was reborn, a fortress restored not just in stone and mortar, but as a symbol of enduring legacy and architectural grandeur, ready to face the centuries anew. Next, Algernon Percy, the fourth Duke of Northumberland, brought a veritable renaissance to Alnwick Castle when he assumed the dukedom in 1847. Born in 1792 and seasoned by a distinguished naval career, Algernon was a man of cultivated tastes, his passions ranging from the celestial in astronomy to the earthly in archaeology and the arts. It was in 1854, with the ink still fresh on his title, that he embarked on a grand project to revamp the venerable castle, ensuring it mirrored both his status and eclectic interests. At the spry age of 62, Algernon envisioned the ancient fortress as a beacon of both medieval splendor and modern comfort, a palace fit for a duke of the industrial age, yet resonant with echoes of its storied past. To realize this vision, he enlisted Anthony Salvin, an architect celebrated for his deft touch in reviving medieval structures. Salvin's portfolio boasted meticulous restorations of Norwich, Newark, and Carisbrooke castles, marking him as the ideal craftsman for Algernon's ambitious endeavour. The blueprint for Alnwick's transformation was both respectful of its ancient bones and eager for modern flesh. Salvin's plans strived for a balance, enhancing the castle's historic martial facade while weaving in the comforts expected by 19th century aristocracy. One of the boldest moves was the erection of the Prudhoe Tower, a new addition that replaced an older structure, offering luxurious quarters that merged seamlessly with the medieval aesthetic. And externally, Salvin's touch was subtle yet profound. He replaced anachronistic sash windows with lancets and mullioned windows, aligning more authentically with the castle's original period. The entrance was grandly redefined by a new porte cochere, elevating the first impressions of arriving guests to that of regal splendor. Internally, the overhaul was more radical. Salvin reimagined the flow and function of Alnwick's inner sanctums, aiming to brighten living spaces with natural light and improve connectivity between rooms. This was not merely a facelift, but a reconfiguration of the castle's heart, aligning its chambers and halls with both the practicalities of contemporary life and the ceremonial duties of a duke's residence. And Algernon's ambitions for Alnwick went beyond mere architecture. He envisaged the castle not just as a family home, but as a gallery for his extensive art collection and a testament to his diverse scholarly interests. Therefore, under his guidance, the restoration became a cultural project, embedding his personal legacy within the very stones of Alnwick. As the work unfolded, it became clear that this was no ordinary renovation. The project, under the dual stewardship of Algernon and Salvin, was transforming Alnwick Castle into a paragon of how modern sensibilities and historical reverence could coexist. By the time the last scaffold was dismantled, Alnwick had been metamorphosed into a residence that was as much a museum of the Duke's tastes as it was a fortress of old. It would then be in our modern 21st century that Alnwick would be seen by millions at perhaps its most beautiful time ever. The modern 21st century Alnwick Castle masterfully balances its ancient heritage with the buzz of modern life. And Alnwick's allure now extends beyond its aesthetic achievements, morphing into a veritable playground of historical reenactments and interactive tours. The castle grounds resonate with the echoes of broomstick training sessions, a nod to its cinematic alter ego, Hogwarts. Archery lessons pull another thread from the medieval fabric, offering hands-on engagement with the castle's combative past. These initiatives serve dual purposes, enchantment and education, pulling visitors deep into the folds of Alnwick's rich narrative. With an eye always on the horizon, Alnwick is a fortress in flux, committed to both preserving its skeletal integrity and enhancing its visitor appeal. Recent restoration efforts have seen the fortification of its curtain walls and the embellishment of its architectural details, ensuring it stands robust against the ravages of time. Even the minutiae, like the installation of lightning conductors, are handled with a care that respects the past while safeguarding the future. And the future vision for Alnwick stretches beyond the immediate confines of the castle. A key project on the horizon is the rejuvenation of Alnwick Station, a Victorian relic now home to the beloved Barter books. This initiative will preserve the structure's historic essence while enhancing its community value. Similarly, the Percy Tenantry column is set for a makeover that includes energy-efficient lighting solutions, blending historical reverence with modern sustainability. As Alnwick Castle strides into the future, it continues to wear its triple crown with grace, as a family residence, a beacon of history, and a vibrant tourist hub. Through a synthesis of preservation, innovation, and robust public engagement, it stands poised to keep its legacy vibrant and accessible for future generations, ensuring that the castle remains not only a repository of history, but a cornerstone of cultural vitality. And now, we'd like to see you in the comments. Have you visited Alnwick Castle before? Or would like to? We love hearing personalized stories from our community on their personal journeys to some of the world's most wonderful homes. So, don't be shy and be sure to drop us a thought or two. With that said, thank you for joining us for another episode of Old Money Mansions. And cheers until next time.